All right, folks, welcome back into the High School Huddle. I'm AJ Feldman. Virtually next to me is my main man, Carl Jones. We are back to bring you all the local high school sports coverage you can handle. Carl, how are you doing today?
I'm all good, man. The weather took a turn for the worse this week in terms of the temperature, but outside of that, I'm all right.
We're getting up there a little bit. We got a little a respite today, yesterday. It's gonna get bad this weekend, especially for that Bills playoff game. That's for sure.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm from the north, so I'm not like too shocked, but it's still never a good feeling when you walk outside and everything hurts.
Yeah, I did. I spent 2 years in Minnesota. That is the epitome of this bad weather is everyday weather. So you get used to it a little bit, not a lot of it, just a little bit. And in terms of the winter months, we've got the temperatures going low. We've also got Roundball Roundup back for the first time last week. We had 11 games for you on News 8. You can catch that at rochesterfirst.com as well. Carl, it was your first Roundball experience. A little bit different than a football frenzy, but even more games for us on a Roundball night, as you found out the fun way.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, you got running around all over the city of Rochester, poking your head in for 10, 15 minutes, even less than that at one of the games I was at. And, just watching some good ball. Some of the games weren't so close. Some were great games that I wasn't able to see firsthand. And then you get back to the station and you tell me that it was a thriller down to the last possession. So it was fun, and obviously putting it all together and then being able to talk about it later that night and in our sportscast was extremely fun, and I can't wait for this week's.
Yeah, for those aren't aware, we go to tons of games a night. We try and map it out our best way. So, we have in our heads what we think the good game is going to be. We try and schedule it last so we can get to, the fourth quarter, end of the third. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. But no, we got some really great games last week. I was at Schroeder versus Victor girls basketball. That was a thriller. Went to overtime. Schroeder coming up with the win there. Like you mentioned, what was it? Monroe and who else? Any Douglas. That game went down to the wire. That had some crazy numbers in it. Victor boys in the boys matchup, they really flexed their muscles against Schroeder, proving why they are still undefeated into the top of Section 5. But yeah, we've got another one on tap for you this week. It should be a good one. Speaking of Schroeder, Schroeder girls, Carl, our long-awaited Mariah Watkins story finally hit the airwaves last night. It was last night, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Miss Mariah Watkins and everything you found out doing that story there.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, she's a sophomore at Schroeder. Schroeder isn't historically known to have a really good girls basketball program. However, this year they started off the year 6-3, one of their best starts, and at least going back to 2006, from what we could gather on the internet. But because before that, there's no, I guess that. But she's averaging 25 points a game as a sophomore, which is kind of unheard of, to be that young and yet so dominant. She has a younger sister on the team, also Bria, who's putting up, I think, 12 a game herself. And what makes it funny is that I wasn't here last year, but it was 3 sisters last year on the team that had a really decent season as well. But just getting to talk to Mariah, she's a very humble young lady, but the one thing that just is obvious when you sit down and talk to her, she's confident, man. I mean, there's nothing about her that's like she has the utmost confidence in why she is in the place that she's in. Like I asked her, how did you get to this point and stuff like that. I put the work in, hours upon hours in the off season. I envision all of this, and it's coming to fruition. And it didn't exuberate cockiness or anything of that sort. It just came up, look, I put the work in. I expect for this to happen, and I'm very grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and everyone around me. But seeing that at such a young age, the sky's the limit. Obviously, she's excelling on the court. The AD told me that she's also great in the classroom as well, so that's great. She has a Division I offer as a sophomore, which is, once again, unheard of. I'm sure she can get a little bit taller, which will help her out. She's a phenomenal player. If you guys haven't checked out the Lady Warriors this year, please do so. She's fun. They also have a couple other players on the team who can do their thing and hold their own as well. She was an awesome person to interview, and definitely one of my favorites so far.
Yeah, and you mentioned, putting up, 20 plus as a sophomore. And then she's doing this against AA competition. Like, this isn't, small school get the ball every single time, things like that. She's putting this against some top level defenses, top level competition, and just your confidence. I can attest that. I've been to a couple of her games. When you're, the straw that stirs the drink, they rely on you a lot. You're going to miss some shots. You're going to, not every shot's going to go in by any means. You're going to chuck up an air ball every once in a while, but she just keeps shooting. She has some great ball handling. She can, combo some moves together, little step back, stutter step, euros, things like that. I've been really impressed with her from what I've seen as well.
Yeah. And I think another thing too is being so young, she's also kind of a menace on the defensive end. A couple of games that I've seen her.
I mean, she's just long.
Yeah. And it's just like, if you can be that formidable on the defensive end at 15, 16, man, we'll see.
Those college coaches are licking their chops. That's for sure.
For sure. Yep.
All right, moving on to some of the top things we saw recently. I'm going to start off with my team of the week. A team that, we say this occasionally, could be our team of the week every week, but they really proved it this time around, and that is Pittsford Mendon girls basketball. They had that early season loss to Penfield. A game that, surprised a lot of us. We were, all right, maybe, we were thinking, all right, maybe Mendon took a step down. Maybe Penfield rose up a little bit. Mendon took that loss personally, so it seems. Since then, they are 5-0 on the season, wins against some out of town competition. They beat Averill Park, who was coming into that game as the number one team in Class A. They beat them 52-25. That was just before the turn of the new year. And then just recently, 2 nights ago, they played Fairport, which previously beat Penfield, was our top-ranked team in AA, well, second top-ranked team below Bishop Kearney. So that was seen as, quite a clash. It didn't turn out to be much of one. Mendon did Mendon-type things. They beat them 67-45. Bridget Miller, who I haven't seen too much in the box score of, I've got to pay attention to her next time I go out and see Mendon. She tied for the lead with 17 points. Danny Stroff with 17 points, and Aya Coleman with 15, Lily Kennedy with 11. And then, just looking at what they did on the defensive side, if you can they held, their Fairport did not get a score above 10 points. Ella Mavon was held to 9. Bella Pucci, a tremendous talent, they held her to 3 points in that game. So that's some great defensive effort. And then also on Mendon, want to highlight Anaya Coleman. She was recently just named an All-American nominee for the McDonald's All-American game. There's a large list at this time of the year that they narrow down continuously throughout the season. We have another Section 5er, Kaya Good from Bishop Kearney is also on that list. So a great week for Mendon, and a nice bounce back from maybe not early season struggles, but one tough game that certainly they would like to get back.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I remember earlier on in the year when they had lost to Penfield, everyone was like, whoa, like, okay, the tides have turned. And for me, this is my first season being here. And I'm like, oh, okay, so like maybe the Mendon isn't who they thought they were. And then I'm talking to Thad Tuesday. I'm like, hey, do we hit this Penfield and not this Penfield, this Mendon and Fairport game? And he goes, Mendon is probably gonna take care of it. And I'm like, all right, like I think it's gonna be a good one. And then lo and behold, like the first and second quarter like scores kind of like told you right away that Mendon was not playing around. I mean, they're a serious team, and I haven't been able to see them in person much, but I'm looking for the next opportunity to do so, because they're taking care of business, and man, love to see that.
Yeah, taking a look at some games they got coming up. This Saturday, they play against Brighton. That should be an interesting one. Victor later in the season. They've kind of gone through the meat of their schedule so far this season with those Fairport and Penfield games. They'll play Brighton once again at the end of the season. They'll get Sutherland in the Rainbow Classic, which should be a good one. I'm sure we'll be at that one on February 12th. So, they've got some other out. They play Cicero, North Syracuse later. I'm not sure the quality that they're at this year, but that should be. Cicero, North Syracuse actually ranked 17th in Lay's state rankings for AA, so that should be another interesting test for them. But Pittsford Mendon, still doing Pittsford Mendon type things. Carl, your team of the week.
So for me, it's gonna be the Edison Tech Inventors. They got their revenge on McQuaid this past week, taking down McQuaid pretty convincingly, uh, 70-51. I mean, I think the one thing that we talked about them a little bit, or not a little bit, probably a lot. At least I have on this podcast, and I have to bring it up again. That core four that they have can match up with just about anyone else in the section, and it's just because how electric they are. And on a night-to-night basis, you don't know which one of those four is going to step up. I mean, you got Markel Freeman, the point guard, Tyler Bethea, Mike Morgan, and David John Lipscomb. Depending on who was hot that night, good luck. And it appeared when they played McQuaid this week that the entire team was hot. I mean, David John Lipscomb and Mike Morgan combined for 20 in the fourth, and Morgan finished with 18. Lipscomb finished with all 10 of his in the second half. Tyler Bethea scored 15. Markel Freeman scored 17. I mean, that is a balanced attack. They are doing their job. I mean, I love to see that. I saw them also last Friday take down Kearney pretty convincingly, and I didn't see Tyler Bethea out there. So, I mean, I don't know if he played the rest of the way, but they didn't need him in the first quarter, and they still won pretty handily. It was 30-19 at half, so it kind of shows that the game against McQuaid this week was kind of within wraps rather early. They're also in the same division as Victor, so I don't know if they're on their level quite on their level. But you get the Inventors on one of those nights where all four of their top guys are cooking. Good luck.
Yeah, and you mentioned these four guys, and I have not seen Edison Tech yet, but just looking at their stats, and right now they only have about half of their stats are in the books. Brandon Latson, he is averaging just under 15 points per game in the games they have here in the stat book. So by this, like I said, abbreviated stat sheet, they've got 5 guys in double figures, which you mentioned a balanced scoring attack. That is something. And that's a McQuaid team that they beat by 19, who just beat East, which was, potentially going to be our team. I was thinking, McQuaid's going to be my team of the week again. I picked them for beating Aquinas. We just still got to give some love to them. We will as well, but that double A, I'm gonna mention this in my team team to watch. There's a lot of good teams. Even though Victor undefeated so far, they've been pushed to overtime twice very recently. So they are by no means. I doubt that they will get through this regular season unscathed. You got McQuaid, you've got Aquinas, you've got Edison Tech. It's going to be a fun bracket for sure. That's probably certainly the one that it's double A boys basketball, so it's always one to watch. It's going to be one to definitely watch this year.
100% any given night.
And then moving on, as I mentioned, to my team of the week, I'm going with the UPrep Griffins boys basketball team. They impressed me. I saw them on Monday night take down Webster Schroeder, and that was a really interesting, kind of weird game. It was UPrep leading at the half, or no, excuse me. It was UPrep leading at the half. Then Schroeder had this massive run in the third quarter. They controlled that third quarter. They just dominated it. I'm bringing it up right now so I can get the number exactly. They won the third quarter 21-8 in that third. They were up by 8 going into the fourth quarter. Then the Griffins just turned it on in the fourth. They won that quarter 19-6. So they returned the favor. And the thing that with UPrep that really stood out is their defense. They had a really strong press. They're very athletic. All their guys can move. All their guys can run. They have some down low presence as well. But they can force you to turn the ball over really quickly. If you can't control their press, they're going to be a dangerous team to watch. A lot of their points in that fourth quarter were off of steals, in transition buckets. They did not have a lot of three-point shooting. So you face a team that, is well coached, experienced, can move the ball quickly around that press. You're not going to get all those turnovers. I did not see a ton of outside shooting from them. But granted, you're getting layups, you're getting points in transition. You're not really going to pull up for three. But UPrep is definitely a team that impressed me this week. They're certainly, maybe they're not in that elite top 4 yet. We haven't seen it from them to be in that top 4 of AA. But certainly, they're not a team you're going to want to see in an early round of that tournament.
Oh, I'm all for the for the teams coming out of I don't want to say out of nowhere, because UPrep obviously they got their respected opponent every time they take the floor. But those teams who may not get the notoriety at the other ones, they just come on the floor every single night, play hard, dive on the floor, play 94 feet, even though I know it's not 94 feet in high school, but y'all get the gist. But they're playing, hard as possible. I love those type of teams because those are the teams that you hate to play against because they're not going to quit until it's triple zeros on the clock.
Yeah, and UPrep 2 years ago they won the AA championship over McQuaid in what was one of the last normal days for all of us. They went 17-5 that season. Last year, they lost a lot of talent to graduation. Melvin Council Jr., one of those top players. They went 4-6, lost to Victor in the sectional first round. So rebuilding a little bit, coming back. UPrep, a team to watch for sure. Carl, who do you got for us? Your under the radar team.
My under the radar team are the Lions. Okay, that I was looking for a team, a team that was maybe still undefeated or a team that had 1 or 2 losses on their record. And if you look at their schedule and how they've been dominating this year, it's kind of unheard of. And I get it, it's Class C, so the talent discrepancy may be a little bit higher when it comes to the upper echelon teams and the lower teams. However, the games are still played, and you got to go out there and play. Their average margin of victory throughout their first 9 games is nearly 40 points at 39.7.
Woo!
I mean, you can only play who's in front of you, and they're playing them all right. I mean, their closest game this year was against Pal Mac, who I saw last night against Wayne with the Goodness brothers, and those 2 kids can go. I mean, those 2 kids can light it up with the best of them. That game was still 70-62. I mean, they're in Class C this year, which it has a couple undefeated teams with OAE and Rochester Academy. But Lions, 39 points by your average margin of victory is nothing to sneeze at. They have their center, J.C. Walker, stuffs the stat sheet every single game. In their second most recent game over Canandaigua, 29 points, 11 boards, and 6 steals out of your center. That's 6 steals out of your center. That's an active kid. And then they got 2 other guys, and I'm sure a bunch of others, but 2 other guys who really contribute heavy for them, Jalen Battle and Tony Pierre. This team, I hope I can catch them before the regular season ends, but I mean, they're electric. They finished off last season 12-1, so I'm sure you know a little bit more about that than I do. But they play East Rochester this upcoming week on the 19th. So East Rochester is a pretty solid team, so get to see if they can lower that margin of victory a little bit. But, I mean, regardless, this team is under the radar. They need more pub and more love because they've been hooping.
Yeah, you mentioned East Rochester, which is what I was going to point out as well. They're another strong team, 6-2. So those are going to be some good tests for Lions. And then, speaking of Lions, the girls basketball team's doing pretty well for themselves too. I was actually, when you said Lions, I was wondering which way we're going to go because both of them certainly worthy of pub. You got Jay LaBelle, the freshman phenom. Averaging 22 plus. So they got some hoopers down there for the Lions. I believe that's Jimmy Boeheim's old, Coach Boeheim's old stomping grounds.
Shout out to Jimmy B.
Let me just make sure. Yeah. He was, played at Lions. So they got talent in their blood. A lot of basketball hoops in the water. I'm sure they play a heck of a zone down there.
Oh man, don't tell me they play. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
All right, moving on to our games of the week. We've got another big round ball slate for us coming up tomorrow night. A lot of great games. Carl, which game in particular has your attention for tomorrow's slate?
So we talked about the Mendon's girls earlier and how they've been dominating this season. The Mendon boys also, as we talked about ad nauseum on this pod, has been doing their thing, and they take on Canandaigua tomorrow, who has also been had a good season so far at 6-2. Obviously, Mendon's 9-0, and I believe still ranked second in the state, or 1 or 2. I want to say, AJ, clarify that.
Let's see if we got this. Number 3, but first in New York State Public High School Athletic Association. So right now in that bracket, they're the top dogs in the state right now.
So they're top dogs, and Canandaigua has a chance to go knock them down. I mean, it'll be a fun one tomorrow. I just saw Mendon this past Saturday, and they are everything as advertised. Caleb Lewis had 31, and I want to say when I was there, bro was just out there like, give me the rock, and I'm going to do anything with it. Going to the Cub, mid-range, floater, 3-ball, whatever, and it became so easy and so naturally. I'm not surprised he ended up with 31. Obviously, Jackson Green can go. He can. He's an electric athlete out there, and when he's
Carl's still waiting for that dunk from him, though.
Oh, yeah, Jackson Green, if you're listening, I need one. If you see me on the sideline, I need a dunk, dog. I need one. You need one. How about that?
I mean, he's got his quarterback. Give him a little alley oop, little the Caleb Lewis Jackson Green connection. Come on, let's speak this. Let's speak this into existence.
Caleb, Jackson. I know you want to go viral. So what's up?
Yeah, we just had Damani Barley go a little viral on overtime the other day for a nice crossover. Jackson Green, your time to shine.
Yes, match energy, and then not to talk down about the Braves at all, but I saw them a little bit earlier this year, and Derek Andrews, he can light it up from behind the arc. They just took down Arcadia by 9 earlier this week. So if they're a team that they're not going to shy away from them, and let's see if they can compete and hold up with the Vikings.
Yeah, we'll see if we can route you to Mendon tomorrow. Maybe we'll post this on Twitter. I've seen them. We'll put Canandaigua on Dunk Watch. Should be a good one. And then my game of the week, going to a Saturday slate. We've got a really quality slate of Saturday games. Unfortunately, there's this thing called the Buffalo Bills who are playing on Saturday. So not sure how much we're going to get out to these games, if at all. Spoiler alerts. However, if you are out there, I'm sure Pickett Splinters will be at this one. I'm sure prime time. Sutherland versus Brockport girls basketball. You've got Ellie Burgeon of Sutherland. You've got Ella Fidel from Brockport, both averaging over 20 points per game, 25 for Fidel. Both of these Sutherland Brockport teams, very strong. Those two players are worth the price of admission alone, and then you get the rest of the teams to boot. So that'll be one heck of a game, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I saw Fidel earlier this year against against Brighton, and that was a game where they were down at half, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then we get back, and Fidel then dropped 30. I'm like, let me write her down and make sure I put her in the memory bank because she's been hooping, and obviously, as you just noted, 25 points a game is nothing to sneeze at. So that is definitely a game to look out for.
Definitely. And unlike the Bills playoff game, inside for that one. So if you got to pick one, right now the price of admission for the two are actually pretty similar. The concessions, the parking, a little bit different of a story. But if you want to be warm and watch a good game, maybe Brockport and Sutherland is your cup of tea on Saturday.
I say so.
All right. That'll do us for the High School Huddle. Here, remember, you can always listen to us on Spotify and on RochesterFirst.com with the video elements. We got the highlights running for you as well. We're trying to get this on Apple Podcasts as well. We'll see if that can come to fruition sometime soon. But that is all for the High School Huddle. It's time to break the huddle. We've got another great slate of games. So remember, News 8, RochesterFirst.com, your one-stop shop for all your best high school sports coverage. For Carl Jones, I'm AJ Feldman. Have a great week. We will see you next week.